The fog clung to the hills like a shroud, thick and choking with the scent of damp earth and pine. You hear them first, the distant screams piercing the mist, carried on the wind like warnings from the dead. Then the sounds sharpen, the clash of iron on shields, the thunder of boots trampling heather, the guttural roars of men unleashing fury. As the veil lifts, you see it unfold. Roman legions, armored in red and bronze, surge forward like a tidal wave of steel. Before them, a scattering of warriors in woolen cloaks, their faces painted blue, wielding spears that glint in the weak northern light. Villages burn on the horizon, smoke twisting into the gray sky. Women and children flee into the wilds, but the soldiers are relentless, their orders absolute. No mercy, no survivors. This is no ordinary battle. This is erasure, and at its heart, an emperor driven by ambition, his final campaign, a storm of blood and fire. But what sparked this devastation? What machine of empire turned men into monsters? What you're about to hear involves mass killing, including implications of sexual violence against civilians. These events are drawn from ancient accounts, but they're deeply disturbing. We focus on the system that enabled them, not the suffering alone. If it's too much, step away. For those who stay, let's uncover the truth behind the conquest. This wasn't random cruelty. This was a calculated strike, a Roman emperor's bid to crush rebellion and secure his legacy before death claimed him. Far from the sun-baked forums of Rome, in the misty fringes of the empire, Septimius Severus launched his invasion of Caledonia, what we now call Scotland, in 208 AD. The Roman world stretched from the sands of Africa to the rivers of Gaul, but the northern tribes had long resisted full subjugation. Walls like Hadrian's had held them at bay, but Severus saw opportunity in conquest. He wasn't just fighting warriors, he was dismantling a way of life. Historians pull this from fragments, chronicles etched in stone, words from eyewitnesses like Cassius Dio, who painted a picture of genocide ordered from the top. The stakes? For the Caledonians, survival. For Severus, immortality through victory. Yet, this campaign echoed far beyond its time, a reminder of how empires devoured the defiant. It reshaped Britain, left scars in the soil, and whispers warnings about power unchecked. To understand the horror, we must trace its roots. Severus didn't emerge from nowhere. Born in 145 AD in Leptis Magna, a bustling port in Roman Africa, modern Libya, he grew up in a world where Rome's grip blended cultures like spices in a market stall. His family was equestrian, not the dusty poor, but ambitious provincials with Punic blood and Roman aspirations. As a boy, he learned Latin and Greek, debated philosophy under the African sun, but the empire's edges called louder than scrolls. By his 20s, he entered the Senate, climbing the ladder through posts in Sardinia and Sicily. Marriage to Julia Domna, a sharp-minded Syrian from a priestly line, sealed his rise. She wasn't just a wife, she was a partner in power, her intellect as keen as any general's blade. The turning point came in the chaos of 193 AD, the year of the 5 emperors. Commodus, the mad son of Marcus Aurelius, had been strangled in his bath, unleashing a storm of claimants. Severus, commanding legions on the Danube, seized the moment. He marched on Rome, outmaneuvered rivals like Pertinax and Didius Julianus, and crushed them with ruthless efficiency. By summer, he was emperor, but victory demanded blood. He disbanded the Praetorian Guard, those elite betrayers, and rebuilt it with loyal frontier troops. His rule? Military first. He raised soldiers' pay, expanded the army, turned the empire into a fortress. But paranoia crept in. Rivals like Clodius Albinus in Britain challenged him, forcing a civil war that ended at Lugdunum in 197 AD. Albinus fell, his head sent to Rome as a trophy. Severus learned mercy was weakness. Power was a blade, sharpened by fear. Britain had always been a thorn. Conquered under Claudius in 43 AD, its southern tribes bent to Roman will, building roads and villas. But the north? Wild, untamed. Agricola had pushed to the 4th Clyde line in the 82nd AD, but emperors pulled back. Hadrian's Wall, in 122 AD, marked the limit 80 miles of stone, forts every mile, a barrier against the painted barbarians. Antoninus Pius tried again in 142 AD, building his own wall farther north, but it crumbled under raids. By Severus's time, The Maeatae and Caledonians, fierce clans of hill forts and cattle raids, grew bold. They breached the walls, sacked settlements, demanded tribute. Severus, aging and gout-ridden, saw a chance. His sons, Caracalla and Gaeta, squabbled like wolves over scraps. A campaign would unite them, or so he hoped. In 208 AD, he gathered 50,000 men, the largest force ever sent to Britain, and set sail. Not for glory alone. This was about control, resources, the iron fist of empire closing on the edge. The machine hummed to life. Severus's army wasn't a mob. It was a system oiled by logistics. Supply ships from Gaul carried grain, wine, armor. Engineers built roads through bogs, bridges over rivers. Forts sprouted like mushrooms, Tremontium in the south, Cremond on the Forth. Intelligence flowed from spies, embedded among the tribes, mapping hill paths and clan alliances. The emperor traveled in a litter, his body failing but mind sharp. Julia Domna accompanied him, a symbol of Roman civilization amid the wilds. Rewards incentivized, bonuses for captures, land for veterans. Punishments deterred desertion, crucifixion for the weak. This wasn't conquest by chance. It was engineered dominance, a bureaucracy of blades. Humanize the man? Severus wasn't born a tyrant. Early traumas shaped him. As a youth, he witnessed the empire's fractures, plagues, border wars. His African roots made him an outsider in Rome's marble halls, fueling a drive to prove himself. When his first wife died childless, he sought omens, marrying Julia after dreams foretold her queenship. Fatherhood twisted him further. Caracalla, born in 188 AD, was groomed as heir, but the boy's cruelty mirrored his own. Gaeta, younger and milder, sparked jealousy. Severus's gout, a constant fire in his joints, bred impatience. He confided in advisors, "I've been everything, and it's worth nothing," yet he pressed on. The Caledonian threat crystallized it. Raids in 197 AD, during his civil wars, exposed Britain's vulnerability. By 208, with Parthian frontiers secure, he turned north. "Let us finish this," he reportedly said. The invasion wasn't vengeance, it was completion. And then the spark ignited. Word came from scouts. Maeatae warriors had ambushed a Roman patrol near the wall, slaughtering all but one. The survivor, dragged to York, whispered of alliances forming Caledonians joining the fray. Severus, in his command tent amid the rain, slammed his fist. "Enough," he declared. The orders went out. "Advance." The machine lurched forward, wheels grinding toward doom. The mist hung low over the Forth estuary, carrying the salt tang of the sea mixed with the acrid smoke of campfires. Roman ships bobbed in the water, their hulls groaning under the weight of supplies. Soldiers sharpened blades, their breaths visible in the chill air. This was the gateway to Caledonia, a land of rolling hills and hidden glens, where clans lived in roundhouses of stone and turf. The air hummed with tension, whispers of omens, the distant call of ravens. Among the tribes, one figure stood out. Argentocoxos, a chieftain of the Maeatae, embodied the North's defiance. Tall, with braided hair and tattoos swirling like rivers on his skin, he had united clans through marriages and feasts. His people farmed barley, herded sheep, traded amber with distant folk. Life was hard but free, no taxes to emperors, no chains from Rome. Argentocoxos had raided south before, testing the wall's strength, but now the horizon darkened with legions. He gathered warriors in a sacred grove, spears raised under ancient oaks. "We fight for our hearths," he roared. His wife, a woman of sharp wit and fiercer spirit, stood beside him, her cloak pinned with bronze. She wasn't just a consort. She advised in counsel, healed the wounded. They had daughters, young and spirited, learning to weave and wield daggers. For them, this was home, but the Romans saw only barbarians to break. The confrontation built slowly. Severus's forces crossed the Forth, building a bridge of boats under arrow fire. Skirmishes erupted Caledonians, melting into forests, ambushing supply lines. The emperor, from his vantage, demanded submission. Envoys rode out under truce flags, offering peace for tribute and hostages. Argentocoxos met them on a hilltop, wind whipping his cloak. "We bow to no southern king," he declared. The refusal echoed back to Severus. Rage flared. "Then they choose death," he said. The legions advanced, torches ready. The act came swift. Villages fell, first huts torched, livestock seized, warriors clashed in open fields, but Romans formed testudos, shields locked like turtle shells. Spears bounced harmlessly, counterattacks cut deep, implication hung heavy. In the chaos of sackings, soldiers unleashed, orders loose. Women captured, families shattered. Focus on the moment, the cries fading into night, the flames lighting the sky. Argentocoxos escaped with wounds, his wife pulling him into hiding. But many didn't. How did word spread? Runners carried tales south, to Roman garrisons. The north burns, they said. This wasn't about one chieftain. This was the system at work, legions rewarded for terror, officers promoted for efficiency. A brief modern parallel, like colonial powers centuries later, using divide and conquer to erase resistance. But that wasn't the worst part. The escalation loomed. Shift to the perpetrator's eyes. Caracalla, Severus's eldest son, rode at the vanguard, his armor gleaming despite the mud. 21 years old, with a scowl that hid insecurity, he craved his father's approval. The old man lingered in York, gout swelling his limbs, but messages flew, press on, show no weakness. Caracalla obeyed, pushing deeper into Caledonia's heart. The persecution spread like wildfire. From the Tay to the Moray Firth, legions marched, building temporary camps, rectangular earthworks with ditches deep as a man. Archaeology reveals them still. At Kintore and Raedykes, sites dotted with pottery shards and coin hoards. The machinery clicked. Quartermasters tallied grain, medics treated frostbite, engineers felled trees for roads. Incentives drove it, booty shares for captures, discharge bonuses for service. Tribes fractured, some sued for peace, offering cattle. But Severus rejected most. Exterminate, his order rang, preserved in chronicles. Spare none, not even the unborn. Numbers in human terms. Whole valleys emptied, smoke rising where communities once thrived. Pollen records from bogs show forests reclaiming fields, people gone. A different victim type emerged. Elders in hill forts. Their stone walls no match for Roman siege engines. One brief moment. A gray-bearded druid, staff in hand, facing down a cohort. He chanted defiance. Arrows silenced him. The system rolled on, reports flowing back to York. Include a breather. Amid the march, Caracalla paused by a loch, the water still as glass. He watched otters play, a rare quiet in the storm. Irony struck. This land's beauty, untouched by Rome's marble, mocked the invasion. Soldiers shared wine around fires, joking about home, but dawn brought orders anew. What happened next would alarm the empire. Resistance stiffened. Caledonians adopted guerrilla ways, hit and run, poisoning wells. Romans suffered. Dio notes 50,000 dead, likely exaggerated, but attrition bit deep. Disease spread in the damp, morale dipped. The climax built in the far north, near the Great Glen. Severus, sensing end, urged one final push. Caracalla led the charge, legions converging on a major gathering. Time slowed, rain lashed faces, mud sucked at boots, warriors massed on a ridge, horns blaring defiance. The clash erupted, shields splintered, men fell in heaps. At its peak, the horror, villages razed in reprisal, survivors fleeing to islands. Implication did the work, no details needed, just the empty echoes. The crack came sudden. Severus's health failed utterly. In York, racked by pain, he summoned his sons. "Do not disagree," he whispered. "Give money to the soldiers, and scorn all others." Death took him on February 4, 211 AD, at 65. Caracalla, now emperor, overreached. He murdered Geta later that year, but in Caledonia he withdrew. Peace treaties hastily signed, walls reinforced. The system bent, ambition thwarted by mortality. Fate twisted for all. Caracalla ruled brutally until assassins struck in 217 AD. Julia Domna starved herself in grief. Argentocoxos? Chronicles hint he survived, his clans scattered but enduring. The North's people rebuilt slowly, their ways preserved in oral tales. Power shifted. Rome abandoned full conquest, focusing south. Long term? Britain divided into provinces, but the North stayed free. Ironic detail, the documents meant to glorify Severus instead exposed his failures, preserved by critics like Dio. Modern discovery brings it tangible. In the 1,970 seconds, aerial surveys spotted marching camps, vast rectangles and fields, confirmed by digs. At Tremontium, artifacts emerged, coins stamped with Severus's face, altars to victory gods. Simon Elliott's excavations in 2018 pieced the puzzle, mapping supply lines. A leather tent fragment, etched with legion marks, proved the scale. Who found it? Archaeologists like David Breeze, sifting Scottish soil, revealing the invasion's footprint. What it proved, not myth, but method to empire's reach etched in earth. Why it matters now. This teaches power's peril, how leaders, facing decline, lash out to etch names in history, one grounded parallel, like modern invasions justified as security, leaving scars generations deep. The universal truth? Resistance outlasts empires. Clans like the Caledonians faded into Picts, their symbols on stones defying erasure. Human nature bends but rebounds. Echo the opening. The fog lifts, but the hills stand silent now. Villages gone, yet the land remembers. Those targeted were meant to vanish, but they didn't. Their stories survive in chronicles, in the ground, in the blood of descendants, and now they're here with you, because you chose to listen. If this moved you, share a thought in the comments. What echoes of ancient conquests do you see today? Their voices endure because we remember.